Welcome to
season 3 of Freaking
Paranormal.
Yeah, we are really excited to come back at this special time of year.
Speak for yourself.
I'm excited. I am speaking for myself.
It's fun. It's fun. It's stretching out those brain muscles and things and research.
Yeah.
And spooky.
When
spooky times.
I always think, research. And then when I start doing it, it's like, wow, I'm going to find out more about this. I like it.
I'm going to travel more from my armchair because I hate airplanes.
Yeah.
Well, you do. I'm speaking for you. I like an airplane too.
I like an airplane or two. I just don't like 5 in one trip. But to celebrate season 3 of Freaking Paranormal on Halloween, I'm wearing a special outfit. Can you see it?
No, I can't.
Well, just if you're just listening to this podcast, I'm wearing a lovely bitter orange pullover top and a black jacket.
How very
military
descriptive.
Style.
Too bad all they can see are your snaps. Your snaps.
I'm snappy. I'm a snappy dresser.
Yeah, because it's easy access.
And in honor of this holiday,
what are you drinking?
A special
oh my God.
Vampire Cabernet Sauvignon. I thought this was, just a fake label for Halloween at this weird store I went to. But in fact, Vampire Winery is an actual place in California.
Is it the Fountain of Youth?
Some people think it is.
Some people do. Is this a place you're going to be discussing and telling us more about?
Well, I watched a video about one of the places that I am going to be talking about, and that's what they were saying. It was a special wine they have there. It was kind of a spoofy, funny video, but
weird.
Yeah, like everlasting life.
I just saw a strange shadow behind you.
It's probably my cats.
I hope so.
Or the lights. The lights.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It was like, it just was across your shoulder. That was bizarre. Anyhow, I'm drinking a bottled mulled wine, and it's less than, it's not,
less than savory.
It's wine. Well, it's actually extra savory. It's just less than, it's not meeting my expectations for a red wine. Let's just put it that way. I misread the label.
Well, it's your own dang fault, Jessica.
I can't shop under pressure. And I also can't be bothered to return wine.
Oh, yeah, you got to drink it, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit. So, as you were saying...
in this episode, we are going to be visiting haunted wineries and haunted...
potato factories.
Yeah,
distilleries. Distilleries. They're basically potatoes, right?
Most of them, yeah.
Potatoes and
granaries and potato facilities.
Yeah. Let me pull up my notes. So I'm covering the distilleries of North America, and I was actually quite shocked and awed by the amount of haunted distilleries. Spirits on spirits, like spirits squared. Yeah, it seemed like there were actually quite a few to choose from, but I just grabbed like 4.
Let me guess. Are they mostly in the South?
No. No.
Okay.
No. Well,
surprised.
No. Well, it's like 50-50.
Okay.
In the ones that I've got here, the first one would be in the South, and it is the Buffalo Trace Distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky, and it's called Buffalo Trace. Trace, like Trace. So it's It gets its name from, I guess, back in the day, there was a buffalo crossing the river. So ancient buffalo, I don't know.
Oh,
But it's had some other names as well. But it has its claim to fame, aside from being haunted, with spirits and liquid spirits. It is the oldest continuously operating distillery in the United States. And it produces bourbon, rye whiskey, and vodka, and distilling on the site of the current, because it's still in operation, I think.
wow.
Yeah.
Do you know when it was founded?
Yeah, I do. And I was about to get there if you're going to, let me say my words. Distilling on site began as early as 1775.
Wow.
Yeah, with Hancock and Willis Lee. And it actually stayed in operation throughout the Prohibition because it was producing medicinal tinctures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm using my wine for tonight.
Medicinal tinctures, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for my back. Yeah. It does help.
When in fact, red wine is actually inflammatory, so it's kind of counterproductive. You'd probably be better off with whiskey. Yeah, red wine is inflammatory.
I did not know that. Maybe I'll switch to whiskey because I haven't had that much.
Just saying. I think it's like a glass might be okay, but more it can be inflammatory. So the other names that this distillery is known by is the George T. Stagg Distillery and the Old Fashioned Copper Distillery. It also on Wikipedia was saying that it's the Old Fire Copper Distillery. So OFC, it's now owned by I think this is the one that's owned by the Sazerac Company, I think. But they're still, producing all of these things, except I think that's that one. Anyway, in 1882, a fire destroyed the first building, and then they just used those foundations and expanded and built more. But when they went to, I guess, expand one of the buildings, that's when they actually discovered those original foundations in 2016. So they thought the building was lost, but it was found.
Inside the new building.
Well, underneath, because it's the foundations.
Yeah.
And this distillery has been featured on Ghost Hunters, the show. And the paranormal investigators discovered up to, I think, 27 different ghostly entities. And after the appearance on that show, that actually prompted the distillery to start offering ghost tours. In addition to
since it's been open so long, it's got to have a bunch of spirits. Yeah.
Yeah. And, through the various tumult of the times. So I just have a description of the tour. The tour begins at Warehouse C, where apparently workers were once saved by a mysterious voice yelling, "Get out," just as the building collapsed around them. Although none of the workers had claimed to have said it. So it could have just been, one of the previous
friendly
workers
ghosts.
Or friendly ghost. Yeah. And then it moves to, Stony Point Mason, which is the home that was built in 1934 by a man named Colonel Albert B. Blanton, and which is apparently the most haunted part of the distillery. And he actually is like one of the, I guess, most noted employees. He started as an office boy and worked his way up to president in the 1900s. And employees in the distillery have claimed that they can hear humming or singing, which they attribute to his housekeeper, I guess. But he died on the property. Yeah, he died on the property in 1959, and he's been also known to pinch bottoms and leave unexplained footsteps in the warehouse, and scaring even the trained paranormal seekers who have gone to check him out. So he sounds like he has a sense of humor.
He's
so nothing nothing too scary and spine tingling, just more of a playful entity who is no doubt sauced on his own supply.
Yeah, that's probably right. drinking his
he's like, I
bourbon.
had a good time. Yeah. Went
Yeah.
out. So that's the first one.
Okay.
It sounded, it's cool because it's been established for so long and it's traded hands many different times. But the fact that it's been in operation, like as long as the country's been founded, that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
the winery that I was going to talk about, one of them is about the same dates, not as early, but the main house was built in the 30s and all that. So it's funny how they're just the same age.
Well, I mean, the country kicks off. So where's that winery that you're alluding to?
It's in California. It's up in Napa Valley at the top of it. You know where St. Helena is?
Mm-hmm.
And this involves a ghost winery. There's a term for wineries that went out of business because of prohibition or phylloxera.
What's that? Oh, that's that virus on the vines, right?
Yeah, it's an aphid infestation, and they actually eat the roots of the vines, and they decimated lots of wineries in the United States. And then I think they brought over some French roots that were immune to start up again. But a lot of the wineries just lost their shirts and had to close. And they're the ghost wineries.
I remember learning about this. Yeah. When I did a wine tour in Croatia, they talked about this because it was like because they were isolated on that island, they escaped that scourge, and they actually, because they were found, they were what's the word? They were transplanted. They were started from the French vines. They actually used those vines to help, rebuild the wine industry across Europe and I guess the United States, which I think is just fascinating.
Remember that. Yeah, I remember that story. But anyway, so the Great Depression and Prohibition really hurt a lot of wineries in the California wine growing business. But there's many of the ghost wineries have been renovated and reopened. But this one, which is so curious, it's called. It used to be called the Franco Swiss winery, and it was built by Italians and Chinese. So I'm not sure where that name comes from, but it was sold to Leslie and Richard Mansfield, and they were going to renovate this building. And I sent you a picture of it so you could see what it looks like.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The main house looks very Italianated. It's white stucco. It has a lot of balustrades on the outside of the house, but it was built in the 30s, right after the Depression. And it was a flourishing winery since 1882.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, it was built in 1876 on a 40-acre plot. And the ghost that is involved with this winery, he was a guy called Louis Murbach in 1882. I'm going to get my notes up here.
I'm looking at your notes. And then he left for San Francisco. Yeah.
He got accused of stealing. He went to San Francisco. The more he thought about it, the madder he got. So he bought a gun, went back up to Napa Valley, and he shot the nephew of the owner, this person called Jules Millay.
Mm-hmm.
And some people claim that Jules Millay still haunts the property. But I think he may not be alone.
Why?
So I'm telling you why. Because enter Leslie and Richard Mansfield. They bought it. They were going to renovate it. But not long after they bought it, they started experiencing paranormal occurrences.
Activity?
And one Yeah. And one of them was this man with a baguette.
With a baguette?
Crossed the road. Yeah, he was eating a baguette.
For some brie.
Yeah, I don't know. He was waiting for wine and eating a baguette.
He's looking for chicken pate.
Yeah. And he just walks across the road to the winery, the old building, and just disappears. He vanishes. And so this is freaking Leslie out so much that she actually hired this team from Alameda, where you live. The Alameda Paranormal Research Team. Yeah, and there's a video on YouTube that I'm going to put in the
what
details
time is
of this video.
Like what's the year on this?
This is in the 2000s, probably.
Okay, so
I don't
current.
This is
current
another
day,
mystery.
essentially.
Yeah, but there's another mystery about this whole property because I couldn't find out when they bought the property and if they've actually sold it. Because, you know, if you go on Zillow or Redfin or whatever, and you look up an address, you can see the history of this property.
Yeah, the sales.
There is nothing. There is nothing.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so
when was the last
Leslie,
sale?
It doesn't say.
There's no sales history.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know when they bought this property, the Mansfields, and they had so much trouble, and Leslie got sick, and they thought it was going to cost too much to renovate. So they put it on the market, this 40-acre property with a winery and vineyard, put it on the market for $3 million. And as of 2019, that's the latest information I could find, it hasn't sold.
Sounds cursed. You should ask Elon Musk to buy it.
So Leslie decides to hire those investigators from Alameda, and they come up to the winery and set up for a couple days, and they got all their equipment out, and they asked the spirit, "Did you kill Jules Mallet?" And the spirit said, "No." But then when they did playback of the video and the recordings, they also heard another voice say, "Yes." And so they thought, maybe there's two people here. And then they tried other stuff, and their video camera inexplicably broke and stopped working. And one of the investigators heard footsteps at the same time, and they thought it was really odd. And so since they didn't have their regular recorder, they thought they would try a new thing using flashlights. So they put these flashlights on the floor of the winery, made sure with this other geo thing that the floor wasn't moving. Okay. And they asked the spirit to try to communicate to them using these flashlights. And they would say,
"Sounds high tech.
Can you turn it on?" And it did. And they said, "Spirit, can you turn it off?" And it did. But they didn't get any definitive information from the spirit, but it just seems to be benign. Then later, later, Leslie is sleeping and is awoken in the middle of the night by this loud noise. She goes out and she finds that the flashlights used in this investigation have exploded. and there were some other flashlights there that weren't even affected. And so my theory is that these guys got creeped out and they wanted to sell their winery. And I don't think they can. I don't know.
Because it has ghost history.
Yeah,
maybe the ghosts don't want to be sold. You know, they just want to own the thing. They don't want anyone else living there, perhaps.
Maybe they don't want it to be changed either, you know?
Possibly. Or maybe there's a massive burial ground under there somewhere that
doesn't want psychiatric hospital. I don't know.
They don't want to be disrupted.
It's just really an odd story to me. And when I Google, I did Google satellite, and I thought, I want to go there. I'd buy that property. I don't have $3 million, but it's estimated at 1.9 right now. It looks really interesting.
Well, next time you come to California, it might be worth a visit, a drive-by.
Yeah.
It's in St. Helena, though, right?
Yeah, that's not that far away.
I know, but still, it's like, it's out there.
Should we take a break for a minute? And we'll be back soon with the second half of Freaking Paranormal.
Well, I could do one more story, considering I've got 4 and you've got 3.
Okay.
So why don't I do that? Then it's 3 and 3. Like, kind of makes sense, don't you think? Program coordinator.
Sounds good.
So let me tell you a little story. We'll piggyback on your California adventure. I'll just, bounce back and forth between my locations. So this is the one that I feel like we may have covered in a previous episode, or I don't know. I've definitely heard about it. I don't know if you have too. And this one's located also in Northern California. It's called the Moss Beach Distillery. Does this ring any chimes? Yeah,
I know.
It's over there in Half Moon Bay. Not quite sure why it's called a distillery, because I don't think anything is actually made on site. I think that name arises from its, I don't know. I tried to figure it out, but I'm guessing it's just because of its place within the Prohibition history.
Well, do they sell booze there? Or is it a restaurant?
Currently, it's a restaurant, and it's always sort of been a restaurant. But it was built in 1927 as a speakeasy, and it was also used as a point of contact, or the entry point for Canadian rum runners. So ships would come in, and they would squirrel their rum up through the restaurant, and that's far away. That's a long sail from Canada. Yeah, but for San Francisco, that's the point, is to get to San Francisco, and I guess it's easier to do that than, it's not that far from Canada, like Vancouver. Think about it. That's not too bad. So yeah, all of the rum would be then shipped up through, or brought up through the restaurant. Some left behind for the restaurant, but it was notable because it was a place for silent film stars and the high society of San Francisco. They would come there and have their parties and whatnot. Oddly enough, it was never raided in the entire time of Prohibition.
Well, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, Moss Beach.
Yeah, but still, to have the notoriety around it, I mean, probably paid some people off.
Must have been some powerful people that went there.
Probably. They just line their pockets with some bills and some rum. I'm sure they're good to go. So what this place is known for is the Blue Lady. And the legend of the Blue Lady. So it's actually been featured on Unsolved Mysteries. They did a reenactment or a, fictionalized retelling of what is imagined to be her story. So about 72 years ago, I guess that's according to whenever that website was published, a beautiful young woman met by chance a handsome, dangerous man and fell in love with him. And she apparently was already married and always wore blue to the bar and had her eye on this guy. I think he was part of the band, or he worked at the restaurant, something like that. He's perhaps a piano player in the bar. And she started carrying on an affair with him. And the story goes that the husband, I guess, came to the restaurant and found them at the bar and, flew into a rage. And after that, he, was I guess they got in a scuffle, the boyfriend and the husband, and then he was kicked out. But then the woman in blue and her boy toy went walking on the beach or something like that, and they were assaulted. And
by
the boyfriend
suppose?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's a mystery. It's just, I couldn't even imagine he would do such a thing.
Giant sea lion.
A walrus even. So apparently she was found dead and the boyfriend was beaten but survived. And so it said that she, wanders the halls of the restaurant and causes, small, like she's more playful and just plays her little pranks. But a lot of events have been documented, like phone calls from no one, levitating checkbooks, rooms that are locked from the rooms that are locked from the inside with no like obvious way for that to like actually take place. Women diners losing one earring that's then later found. Tampering with dates within the computer.
Wow, high-tech ghost.
Yeah, she knows how to get into the systems. But when I was looking on a couple other sites, I think there was another like paranormal show that went in to investigate. And I think I didn't write this down, but I feel like I read that they found a system of like pulleys and levers to help create the effects that scare the patrons of the restaurant. So some of it's not entirely true is kind of what I was reading, but I mean,
cheaters.
I'm sure there is like, some paranormal activity, but at the same time, they're, using that as a way to bring drawing customers. Yeah. I mean, if you go to the restaurant's website, there's like, that's what it's dedicated to is the woman in blue. Like the colors of the restaurant are blue, like the Moss Beach Distillery. It's part of their thing.
Their brand.
And part of the brand. And I'm sure Madam doesn't like to be, capitalized upon. But I'm still curious why it would be called a distillery, because even now it's just a restaurant. It's not like they actually make anything on site.
Yeah, that is odd.
But yet it comes up on all the lists of like most haunted distillery.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
I know, and sometimes you have these questions like I did about the Mansfield winery and you can't find the answer,
Yeah, well, especially in the limited time that we had for researching. I mean,
it's not my fault. I am innocent. I am innocent.
I mean, I don't know about that one, Trish. This is your idea.
That was fascinating, and I'd like to go to that place too.
Okay, Half Moon Bay and St. Helena.
Yeah, be a trip.
It's apparently award-winning food at this restaurant.
Oh,
and it's on Seal Beach in Half Moon Bay. I don't know if I've been up that direction of Half Moon Bay. I've only ever been to that Dog Beach. Well, I'm not asking about you.
Well, I don't care what you think.
I know. I've lived a few years of that, so I'm well aware.
I actually met a couple on the plane. I was designing a bathroom on a piece of paper, and she just kept watching what I was doing, and we struck up a conversation. And she and her husband were from Moss Beach, and they invited us to their house. And we actually went to it.
How was that sex party?
It was fun. They were in an old 70s house with funky tile. And
did you bring your pineapple?
My pineapple.
And just Google it. Just Google it.
Oh, no. We're back. Episode 1 of season 3, Freaking Paranormal. We're
season 3, episode 1. Tune in Halloween. For mind-numbing talk about spirits. Do you want to go to sleep and not really care what you listen to? Then tune in. Let us talk you off into dreamland.
Or maybe off a cliff.
Either one. There's no
anyway,
hope.
we like talking about mind-numbing details, so we're gonna keep going.
We are.
What was
definitely. That? I know you heard that.
Is that a ghost? Is that a ghost?
I don't know. I could have farted. No, I don't know what that was. I've got headphones and I can't tell.
My next winery is.
You tell me about it, Trish. You tell me.
It's in an unlikely state that's cold.
Okay.
And that would be Michigan.
a winery in Michigan. Do they make glue vine or what's it called? Ice vine.
You probably make ghost vine, that stuff you're drinking. But I don't know. It's like your distillery in Moss Bay. It looks more like a wine shop and also a pizza place.
Oh,
so I don't know. I don't know if they actually produce wine. Maybe they do.
It's a misnomer.
Property. Yeah. But they, it's in this old building, and, it's actually on the main street. It's called Howell's Main Street Winery. And it's in an old brick building, and it looks really cute on the inside, wood floors and old timey stuff. And I'd go there. It's really cute. But when the new owners, they were called Sandy Villatel and her husband, just were thinking of buying the place, people in the town would say, it was the town of Howell, surprisingly. They said, "Are you sure you want to do that? Because it's haunted. Haven't you heard about the little boy that haunts that building?" And they said, "No, but we still want to go ahead." So they did. And they didn't really believe in ghosts or anything. So they went ahead, they opened the winery, and strange things began to occur.
Let me guess. Levitating bottles?
No.
No.
No levitating bottles.
Okay.
Creaking floors.
The ghost couldn't reach the bottles, I guess.
Yeah, he was too little, and he didn't like liquor anyway. This ghost would move furniture around at night when Sandy, the owner, was the only one that had a key.
She probably had bad taste.
Yeah, or bad feng shui.
Something like that.
And then there was noises in the bathroom when nobody was in there. Who knows what kind of noises they were.
Poop spirits.
So Sandy, after all these things started to happen, decided to hire some mediums.
Okay, not some larges.
So she decided to order to hire some mediums, and they all mentioned the 7-year-old boy named Thomas.
Okay,
who died there. His family owned a shop where the winery is now, and he died. And there's many sightings of him, and every medium knew about him. And then one day, the chef was making a cake and doing something with chocolate, and she turns around and she sees this little kid on the stairs leaning against the banister, and he was really cute. And she looked at him, and he looked at her, and they were both really shocked. And then he just went around the corner and disappeared. Yeah.
And that's it?
She was like really freaked out. So they hired another medium, and the medium contacted the spirit. And this little Thomas described that chef's clothing in exact detail and described what she was cooking. She was frosting a cake.
That's crazy.
It's very crazy. Yeah. And so, Sandy's starting to think maybe there is something to it. And this one day, this larger group came into her winery, and they were sitting there at a table, and there was a very vocal non-believer that was saying, "No, there's no such thing as ghosts. Yeah. What are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah." And all of a sudden, this wine bottle on the table started to leak out. And when they looked at it, and it got all over the place, They looked at it, there was this hole in the back, an exact circle like as big as a silver dollar that had just exploded outward.
I feel like that wouldn't be a slow leak. That would be like, you would
it just flooded the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, it flooded the table. And so they hired more mediums, and there's actually, I guess, apparently, at least 12 ghosts on this property, and one of them is a cat.
Oh, is that Thomas the cat?
No, I don't. Thomas, a 7-year-old, and a cat.
Is there any information on how Thomas passed?
No, I didn't find that.
Oh,
But the owner said that, he was
she's
probably
probably baked into a cake.
Oh, and since he was so cute, I'm thinking he might have died of
Typhoid.
Typhoid or something fast,
Well, I mean, don't you think ghosts just sort of take on their best appearance, not necessarily how they died?
I don't know what the theory is. I keep thinking, why do we see ghosts that are always dressed in old clothes? Is it because ghosts, they're always from the 1800s or whatnot, most of them. And it was at a special time on the planet when the frequencies were going crazy and things got caught. You gotta wonder.
Don't you think there's some like modern day ghosts or not? I guess that's something you could research.
We've only had one. We've only had that one guy in Helena that was killed in the bathroom or died, hit his head in the bathroom. That's our only modern ghost so far, which I think maybe that is a good episode to look into.
Modern hauntings.
Modern ghosts, because why are they all old? Why is it the 1880s or 1850s?
Maybe because people get trapped in a different frequency, and so there's not enough time to have passed in order to haunt. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It has to be some kind of weird energy thing.
Maybe you have to age as a spirit. Who knows? You have to be 100 years old in order to start haunting.
Like this wine, like vampire wine.
What does it taste like? Is it bloody delicious?
It's bloody good. It's a 2018. My tongue is purple.
It is quite purple. Let me pull over my notes here. Is that enough on this?
That's the end of it, except that the owner now often talks to these spirits. She's embraced the paranormal and she doesn't mind having them around.
She goes, "Do you free think employees." She's got friends now. All right, where am I? Where are
you taking us, Jessica?
I'm going to stay in that neighborhood of Michigan-ish. Like,
really?
Kind of. We're going to go Florida? To Gooderham and no. We're eventually, but no. We're going to Toronto or Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah. Toronto.
Oh, I like Toronto.
Toronto. So that's kind of in the neighborhood of Michigan. It's up that way. It's snowy and Great Lakes and
cold
stuff. Isn't Toronto on a lake?
It's on Lake Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty sure.
So there's geography. So we're going to Gooderham and Worts Distillery.
I don't think I'd go there just because of the name.
I know. It's not.
It sounds like a disease.
Gooderham Worts. Yeah, it sounds definitely viral.
Yes.
So this distillery was founded as a mill, as a grist mill, whatever that means. They're grinding grain, right?
Yeah.
By James Worts, and it's Worts, not W-A.
Worts. German name.
Well, not necessarily, because he and his brother-in-law, William Gooderham, they had migrated to Canada from Suffolk, England.
Oh, okay.
So they were English descent. But their fortunes changed, and they turned a tragedy into they turned a tragedy into a bigger one, and then they finally had a little relief. So,
do tell.
James Worts, he was married, and his wife died in childbirth. So,
that is sad.
It is sad, yes. So, as a result, he was crushed, and he committed suicide by jumping into the what do you call it? The windmill's well.
Tell me.
And he drowned himself.
Oh,
So that was just like a couple of years. That was like in 1934 or 1834. Excuse me, 1834.
Wow.
So Gooderham, his brother-in-law, so I'm going to guess it was his wife's brother. That would make sense, right?
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
So he had like an abundance of grain and decided to switch his focus from grinding grain into making alcohol. So
using that special water from the well.
Oh, the special water, yes. So it was imbued with already spirit.
Yeah.
The spirited water. So in 1837, the mill became a distillery led by Gooderham and James Wort's eldest son. So they had children already, I guess, who was also called James. And during that time period, I would say that was about a good swath of like 50, 60 years. They became like one of the leading producers of alcohol in the British Empire because Canada was still there. Producing 2.1 million gallons a year.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it is. So by like the end of what would that be? The 19th century? That's the 1800s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gooderham and Worts, they were both passed on, and the country entered Prohibition, and the distillery was nearly, kaput at that time. And things happened. I read differing information on how the distillery survived Prohibition. I guess they still were producing, but it was a little bit more
medicinal.
Medicinal. Yeah, they were like, I don't know. I guess Canada really wasn't under Prohibition. I don't know. That was foggy to me, like what the rules were, and I didn't read too deeply into it.
Yeah. Well, if they were running booze down to San Francisco, it sounds like they weren't.
Yeah, it sounds like they were still doing it. I don't know. Well, in any case, in 1923, the distillery was purchased by this guy named Harry Hatch. That's terrible.
Oh, man, this place is doomed with names. Harry Hatch.
Harry Hatch. And that's when Harry C. Hatch, actually. At your service. Yeah. But this is when the bizarre occurrences and the sightings started to happen around the distillery. Workers and visitors report, doors opening and closing, lights flickering, and it said that the original James Worts would be seen around the property, showing up for work, etc.
Dripping.
Kind of actually appearing more in like a spectral form is what people report. And just having more of like a comforting presence. So he's not malicious or anything like that. It's just more like, he's checking on his place. And now, current day, the original structure is part of, where did that go? So in 2003, it was converted into the Distillery Historic District because it's a huge building. It's actually the largest and best preserved collection of Victorian industrial architecture in North America. So it's this huge pedestrian area.
I probably went right past it.
Yeah, there's something called the Balzac House, which is, I guess, like a coffee shop. And so there's a couple different structures in this area. And it's a pedestrian only zone, and you can shop and let me go back through. So this was it was, the distillery was still in production up until 1990. It changed hands through different companies, and, some notable companies purchased it and they were still using it. But by that time they had switched their production location. So it went empty and was abandoned in 1990. And at that point, it was actually started to being used for filming. So a lot of films will use this because of the architecture and everything like that. So Tommy Boy, X-Men, The Hurricane, Chicago. It stood in for 40s Harlem, and it was part of the exterior sets for Friday the 13th, the series. So it definitely got its
Wow.
use.
Yeah.
But after that, that's when it was started to be converted into the, historical district that it is now. At one point, it was housing like artist lofts and galleries, and there was like a performing arts center. Yes, is this ringing bells?
It's
or
starting
something?
to ring a bell. We were up there when it was really cold and snowy.
Yeah.
But that just rang a bell. The lofts and the coffee house and this brick area.
Yeah, I mean, I could have shared pictures with you, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But going back to the hauntings, so they also offer tours, as part of the that distillery, as well as like just that district, since there are like the Balzac house is also supposedly haunted. But people have reported black meowing shapes that just flash and disappear, which are
I have some of those.
Yeah, but these are
house.
the spirits of the distillery cats that, were on hand to help control the mice and everything like that. And when there was a restaurant in the distillery, and this is like more current time, a woman that worked there, she reported seeing a figure hanging, swinging by its neck from a wine rack, and she did not return to work ever. And there was just there's been a lot of like just creepy feelings, and people, I guess there were some explosions. There were quite a few articles that I didn't entirely get through, but, there were quite a lot of mishaps that happened in that area, and, contributed to the haunted,
there's
the
big
haunted
vats,
vibes.
there's crushing things,
Explosions, all those good things.
Yeah.
But, just, it looked cool. It sounds cool. It's another one of those like long running things, but obviously
Distilleries.
started off with Mr. Warts.
And Harry Hatch.
Harry Hatch. Harry opened the hatch to,
That's Horton. Horton, here's a who.
Harry had the portal to the other world, if you know what I mean. It was,
oh boy.
It was upholstered.
My final entry in tonight's fabulous and exciting episode is a place that you and I have been, I think. It's Buena Vista.
Oh.
In Sonoma.
Apropos. I just gave you a little ASMR on my wine.
I heard that.
I really can't call this wine. Anyhow, yes, please discuss Buena Vista. Didn't we cover that already, though? Buena Vista?
Yeah, we did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We did with another
topic
thing. But it's the second oldest winery in California. Coming in after the D'Agostini Winery in Healdsburg, which was built in 1856. So
that's
Buena Vista was
wild.
Yes. And it was built by a Hungarian immigrant named, I have to look,
Gustav von Schlussenberg.
Agostin Haraszti.
Oh, that's
Haraszti. And he's...
Hungarian is a hard language, that's for sure.
Yeah. So he was from Budapest, and he reinvented himself as a count. So no one knows if he really was a count. Yeah, the Count of Monte Cristo. So this guy was, he was a mover and shaker, but he also, he built this big winery. He built his lavish villa, and then went bankrupt. And the
original Donald Trump.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And, a society of wine lovers had to bail him out and kept it going. And it had a series of owners after that. But the funny thing is that I watched this video about it that I was telling you. It was a tongue-in-cheek one where I was telling somebody else.
Yeah, not me. I was like, I don't recall this conversation.
Yeah, I watched a video that the current owner of Buena Vista is a really funny guy, Jean-Charles Boisset.
Okay.
And that name has to be made up. Boisset? Yeah. Winery? For French, drink. Isn't it
boisson?
Boisse, you know.
Boisse.
Yeah, E.T.
Oh, I
Anyway,
think you're reading into it.
He was making some funny videos, and he said the Count was eaten by a crocodile. And I said, "Oh, come on, that's just crazy talk." But then I did some research. And he fell into a crocodile-infested river in Nicaragua.
Where?
Yeah, Nicaragua?
Nicaragua?
Wait a minute.
Are you dyslexic?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Just a second.
Do you have your facts
Nicaragua. Nicaragua. In Nicaragua. How do you say that?
One more time. Can you say that one more time?
Nicaragua. Nicaragua. And anyway, I think he really didn't. He probably went bankrupt again somewhere and needed to.
And now disappear. He is an Aztec prince.
He could be anything.
Donald Trump.
That was that. So
why is it haunted?
I'm going to tell you. The original hand-hewn caves that are in the hill you could still tour them. They are really kind of creepy. You know, they're dark in the back and it's just all stone. I remember going in there, and that was the winery with the weird Art Deco furniture.
Oh, yeah. It looked like a creepy, like a very low budge version of like Liberace or like
some kind of set.
Siegfried and Roy, or I don't know. It was just a really bad odd. Porno. I don't know. It was just
Anyway, you could still.
It looked
that.
dirty. It looked like it had some phylloxera left over.
Dirty fake fur,
and just way too many taxidermied animals. Just bizarre.
Well, one other thing about the Count is that he owned the neighboring Bartholomew Park winery, which we've also gone to, and that once housed a place for unmarried women. Yeah, and there's a lot of weird stuff that went on there.
Yeah, I think we covered that one too.
Yeah, and a morgue, and that ties into what they've been experiencing at Buena Vista, is that sometimes you can hear infants crying, and you see ethereal figures, and of course, 1800s clothing, of course, and footsteps on the roof. Could be Santa, could be a ghost. Not really sure. Could be Kris Kringle. Could be that the Krampus. Could be the Krampus. What's the Krampus? It's the Krampus. Yeah, what is the Krampus? It's the creepy German thing, or Krampus. That's what it is. Krampus. It's the like creepy child eater at Christmas time. Yeah, for bad children, they get eaten. You crawl in his sack, and then you never look back. You crawl in the sack. Harry Hatch has come to call. Okay, but the rest of the sightings have been like a full body apparition. Apparently, this is very unusual, of a man with great big mutton chops, sideburns, and they think it might be General Vallejo. Okay. Two of his daughters married sons of the owner of Buena Vista. And there's been a lot of ghost, paranormal investigations that have gone to this winery. But I couldn't find any of them on YouTube. So lies. I know. I feel cheated in some way. Were they like television investigator people? Like, was it on a show or what? It probably was. It just said because it just might not investigators. It just might not be on YouTube. You'd have to actually Netflix go track down. Yeah. Or it's just they're privately hosted or whatever. This whole episode just made me want to go back to the wine country. Well, I mean, it's fun. Yeah, I'm sure there's some haunted ones where you are. I mean, there's plenty of frightful wine around you. Oh, yeah. I should, should go investigate Walla Walla.
Voila.
I'm sure
Okay,
there's
I'm going
stuff
to
happening there.
pull up my notes here. My last one is pretty short and sweet because I couldn't find that much information on it, but it was still interesting.
So I take it it's in Florida.
No. What made you think Florida?
Because you said we were going to go there.
No, you asked, are we going to Florida? And I said no.
I thought you said later.
No.
Oh,
I just said the South earlier. Oh, we were going to Florida later, as in, like, actually later in the month.
Oh, actually,
yeah,
we were
we're
actually
actually
going to
traveling to Florida.
That's true.
Yes. So perhaps I was just being cheeky. No, we're headed to Mount Pleasant, North Carolina.
Oh,
I didn't know
North
there were
Kakalaki.
I didn't realize there were mountains in North Carolina.
the Smokies, the Great Smoky Mountains.
Are they great?
Yeah, they're beautiful. Asheville, North Carolina. Right.
Okay.
Center of the Smoky Mountains, y'all.
Yeah, no. So this is Southern Grace Distilleries, and it is an abandoned prison turned into a distillery. So,
It's like a bar, so to speak.
So to speak. It's just like
Full of bars.
Full of bars. So actually this prison that's now a distillery was in operation from 1929 until 2011 as a work camp for up to 400 low security inmates. So it's kind of a wide swath of time.
Yeah, it is.
So once, I guess, they shut down the prison, Southern Grace Distilleries established themselves within the building, using various parts of it for their operation. And, they host tours in addition to, like ghost tours, in addition to like their regular tours of operation. But they have, it's like there's long hallways and tiny cells and,
Lots
like
of people
part of the whiskey
tape.
like the whiskey tastings tape play. They got died. killed sure. In other words.
In Nicaragua.
What was that you were saying at the top of the show? You're a writer?
Yeah.
She's verbose.
I was a speaker.
She's verbose. She's got vocabulary. So they actually have whiskey tastings inside the old segregation unit. And
what's that? What's the segregation unit?
Well, if you consider that it was like 1929 when this started, I'm sure they kept their prisoners separate, black and white. Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would imagine that's that. And then other parts of the cell blocks is, where the distillation happens. While it's been open, workers have reported occurrences like keys disappearing and then reappearing and just, spooky noises ringing throughout the chambers. And it's essentially a modern day Alcatraz.
Oh.
And listen to that. It's like, except with whiskey tastings.
And no water.
And no water because it's in a mountain.
Have you been to Alcatraz? Yeah.
Yes, with you.
Okay. You went with me?
And grandmother.
Oh, that was you. Okay. I thought it was one of my other children. The tens and thousands of
I'm so glad that I am so memorable for you. It really makes me feel
warms
good.
The cockles.
It warms the cockles.
Yeah.
I'm just so that makes me feel really good.
That's what
really
I do,
good.
Jessica.
Yeah.
That's my brand
you are great at emotional connection. That's just wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and so we digress and dissolve and go. I don't know what that word is that I'm searching for.
Digress, dissolve,
not digress,
degrade.
We degrade into the ending of this episode of our first season.
Devolve. Is that the word?
Devolve. Yeah, all the D words. So next time.
How much wine did you have?
I had one one glass and maybe a quarter.
Oh, okay.
But it's been a very long day, and Jessica, I am in extreme pain. I can't tell you.
Well, you have your resources.
Yeah.
Some of them, being like acupuncture or chiropractic work, or
I always give it a couple days.
Sometimes you don't need to.
Yeah.
You hurt yourself. Face the facts, woman. You strained something.
Yeah, I strained something big.
Your ass.
With that,
so until next time, folks. Adieu.
Stay freaky, and I hope that if you want to be on or what's wrong with that?
It just sounds funny. Stay freaky.
If you want to be on our show, or you have a story you would like to share, just please drop us a line at
doodad.
Paranormal.
Drop us a pineapple, right, Patricia?
I gotta look that up. It sounds terrible. What's a pineapple? Okay. I'm allergic to pineapple, by the way.
Are you? What happens?
My mouth just gets all raw and burny.
You can't have any of it? You can have a bite or two?
I don't know. It depends on what it means. Okay. Well, I'll see you next week, Jessica.
Oh, okay. We're committing.
Yeah, we're committing. Come on. It's season 3.
Okay, season 3. Here we go. Bye.